Hi guys, welcome back to Shanificent. My name is Shani and I'm so glad you're here. Thank you so much for being here. Today, I wanted to talk about your emotional needs. Let me ask you a question. What are your emotional needs? Do you know? I'll wait. Okay, for those of you that could tell me, that had a quick and solid answer for what your emotional needs are, congratulations. Peace is close to you. Peace is close to you, and I'm happy for you. For those of you that were a little blank, that had nothing to say, that were just umming and eyeing, unfortunately, peace seems a little bit further away. But you'll be glad to know that it's still within reach and it is entirely up to you. You have the power to bring peace closer to you, to be right next to peace, to be right with peace. But the only way to do that is to know what peace looks like for you. The reason why it's really important to know your own emotional needs is because peace looks different to everyone. Because, what are emotional needs? Let's start there. What are emotional needs? I define them as what you need to feel peaceful, what you need to feel safe. And don't we all want to feel safe? Like who loves to feel safe? I do. And who hates to feel unsafe? I do. Don't you? It sucks. It's a really uncomfortable feeling. So that's why it's literally so important to know what your particular emotional needs are. Not mine, not your mom's, not your dad's, although that is helpful, don't get me wrong, but your first priority should be to know yours, okay? And yeah, like I said, it's really important to know them because my emotional needs might look different from your emotional needs. And his and hers and theirs and the next person and the next person and the next person. So you're probably thinking, okay, how on earth do I know what my emotional needs are? How do I know what I want? How do I know what I need to feel safe? Well, one way would be to just be present with yourself. Reflection. Do a lot of self-reflection. Like self-reflection really is essential in this process. It's essential because you have to sit with yourself maybe at the end of the day, at the end of the week, and just think about what happened, like how you felt during the week, what triggered those feelings, what inspired those feelings, what evoked those feelings, like what happened in the week that made you feel a certain way, and how do you feel about how you felt? How do you feel about it? Did you like that? Did that feel good to you? Or did you hate that? Did you hate feeling, let's say, disorganized? Or did you hate feeling bored and still, So reflection is one way. One way that's kind of quick, that I find quick and helpful, is to look up your moon sign in astrology. Now, you can feel how you want to feel about astrology, but I can tell you that it will help you in this. It'll help you here. It will. Because in astrology, you have multiple different signs, okay? You have a sun sign, which is the sign that you know of. That's the one that when people ask you, what's your sign? That's what they're talking about. And that's usually the sign you tell them. That's the one you're familiar with. So you might be an Aquarius sun. But you also have a moon sign. And your moon sign is your emotional nature in astrology. It speaks to your emotional nature. It speaks to your inner world and what you need to feel safe. So for example, my moon is in Virgo. I'm a Virgo moon in astrology, meaning I need order and routine to feel safe. I need order. I don't chaos, mess, things just being put anywhere. There not being any kind of order or discipline or structure to the way life is lived and things are done makes me sad. It upsets me, literally. It literally makes me sad. It makes me want to cry. And to someone else, that can sound crazy. That might sound crazy. I think what's super interesting about moon signs in astrology and why I'm fascinated by them is that they just show, they bring peace and clarity to that confusing situation where you don't understand why someone else is upset over this thing, because that wouldn't upset you at all. Let's say you like something happened, like, I don't know, like you bumped into a friend and then you and the friend hung out, and then you were telling another friend that you bumped into this friend and you hang out with them and you had a really good time, and they're feeling left out. And now they're upset because they weren't at the hangout. They couldn't hang out with you guys. And like for you, you're just like, why would you even be upset at that? That doesn't even make any logical sense, you know, something I would say. Like, it doesn't even make any logical sense for you to be upset. Like, I just bumped into them. I didn't even know I was going to meet them. Turns out that friend is a Libra moon. They're a Libra moon. So their emotional world and their emotional world revolves around connections, friendships, relationships, socializing. So they're going to feel way more hurt by not being invited or not being available for hanging out, not being able to hang out with someone and spend time with other people than someone else, than like a Capricorn moon, for example. Because a Capricorn moon feels emotionally safe by through like having material security, through feeling like they can survive, through feeling like they can survive life. They have money in the bank, they have assets, they have a solid job. They're physically capable of surviving on this planet. Like, that's what makes them feel emotionally secure and safe. So yeah, that's why it's super, super, super important to just understand and get into this world of emotional needs. I think it's not something a lot of us think about in the everyday. It's not a conversation that's being had widely. But it's extremely important because, like I said, your emotional needs could be different from the next person's, and probably are. So if you're trying to just be like maybe like you were raised like you were raised with many siblings or raised around many children, and like you were just all treated the same, you know, and like now you've just taken that on. You haven't learned how to individualize your understanding of yourself. You haven't individuated, and so you don't know that you have particular emotional needs, you know. And also the reason why it's so important to know what your emotional needs are is because you're responsible for making sure they're met. You're responsible for getting them met. As an adult, it's you who is responsible. And I think this is something that like we struggle to understand. There's a big misunderstanding going on in the collective where people think that other people are responsible for getting their needs met. People think that other people are responsible for making them feel comfortable. That is not the truth. Other people are not responsible for making you feel comfortable, unfortunately. Wouldn't that be easy? If, you know, I had all these needs and I didn't have to meet them. Someone else just had to do the work to meet them. Wouldn't that be easy and nice? Well, we didn't come here to live a life like that, I'll tell you that. And the reason why you're the one that's responsible for meeting your needs is because it's actually encouraging you to deepen your relationship with yourself and to create safety within yourself. Like, it needs to be you, because you need to feel like you are safe within yourself and you can make yourself feel safe. Because when our safety is dependent, or our sense of safety is dependent, or our sense of feeling safe is dependent on other people meeting them, that makes you really vulnerable in the way that it's not even necessary. Like, you could just meet them yourself. You could just make yourself feel safe and you can cut that out. Now you don't have to, you're not at the whim, this person doesn't have power over you. You're not at the whim of whether they decide to, I don't know, get you what you need to feel safe or not. So it's important because finding peace is about learning to reparent yourself. It's about learning to reparent yourself. What does it mean to reparent? It means to go on the long, personal, internal journey of looking at your past and coming to terms with how your needs weren't met, because this work will take you there. It will take you there because when you realize what your needs are, you realize how they weren't met when you were a child. You realize the moments when they just weren't met. Maybe because your caregivers, they just didn't know how to meet you there. They couldn't offer that. Maybe they weren't meeting their own needs. They didn't understand the importance of meeting their own emotional needs, so they had no idea how to meet yours. Or there could be many other reasons, but like you're gonna go into that world, you're gonna go down that path. And then you'll have to like realize that, okay, or like come, like just like tell yourself and come to terms with the fact that, okay, my needs weren't met when I was younger. And that made me sad, and that kind of like made me inward, or it made me feel insecure, or it made me feel like I didn't trust life. I just felt very unsafe as a child. But I get to feel safe now, because you do. You get to feel safe now, right now, in this moment, regardless of what's happening. The feeling of safety actually is generated from within, or rather, that's the more powerful way to feel safe, because you can generate that feeling whenever you want, all the time. It doesn't, and it's not dependent on outside or external circumstances to be in place for you to feel safe. You don't have to wait to have money in the bank. You don't have to wait to have a partner, like a romantic partner in your life. You don't have to wait to have, I don't know, XYZ to feel safe. You can just feel safe right now, like you're allowed to. But of course, it's hard. It's hard. I can tell you that you get to feel safe right now in this moment, but that's just a thought. Like, how do we turn that into a belief? How do we turn that into you actually feeling safe? Not thinking about feeling safe, but actually feeling safe. It's about getting to know yourself honestly, you know? And like I said, your moon sign in astrology can really help with that. If you're curious, like, look up moon sign astrology after this video, you know, Google that, go down that path. There's so many resources out there helping you learn what your moon sign is and what that means, what that entails for you. So yeah, I guess I'll just talk about mine, just to give you an idea of what it means to know what your emotional needs are. So yeah, like I said, I'm a Virgo moon, meaning my internal world has a Virgo flavor to it. My sense of security and emotional safety has a Virgo flavor to it. Meaning, because I'm a Virgo moon, I feel safe when I have a routine. I need a routine. Routines make me feel safe. Because I need to feel like how I'm living my life is like the best way I can live it, is the most yields the most efficiency, the most productivity, the most good, just yields the most good. Like that's, so having a routine where I've thought about everything I do, I've thought about the time I wake up, I've thought about how I wake up, I put thought into things, and I've applied those into how I wake up, what I choose to do first thing in the morning, what I choose to eat, when I choose to eat, how I choose to work, all those things, and then I want to do it. I just want that in place. Like I just want to do the same thing every day. I also feel safe. I feel safe when I know. I feel safe in knowledge and information. So I like to read a lot, or just like, I like to read a lot about anything I'm interested about. I want to know everything about it from A to Z and back. Yeah, and I don't feel, so the opposite of that, I don't feel safe when I don't know. I feel very unsafe when I have no idea how to do something. I feel very unsafe when I make a mistake, which is crazy. Like, that's a really frustrating thing about myself. I want to say I hate it. I don't hate it, but it's very frustrating because just a tiny mistake will throw me off my day. Like, I feel awful. I feel like the world is ending when I've made a mistake. And that's a very particular Virgo moon thing, you know? Like someone like an Aries moon doesn't care. An Aries moon doesn't care when they make a mistake. In fact, they might even like it. They like the mess and the chaos and the brashness and the inherent life that's involved in making a mistake, you know, and being messy. So, yeah. So when I do make a mistake, because I'm literally a human, and that's what we do. That's why it's so crazy that I want to die when I make a mistake. But this is just what it's like to have a certain moon sign, to just for your moon sign to be a certain way, you know? So when I make a mistake, I know that I'm more prone to sort of like, I have strong emotional reactions, negative emotional reactions to making a mistake. I know that. So I don't know, I just kind of nurture myself through that. When I'm like, I'd say like I'm driving and like I knock the car a little bit or something, like that's part of the reason why I don't love driving that much, is because I'm afraid of making a mistake, you know? Yeah, and like that's just something I know about myself, you know. Vulnerable share. Knowing your emotional needs is vulnerable. It's very vulnerable. It's a vulnerable thing, and that's why it's not talked about that much. It's a tender conversation, and that's why you probably aren't that familiar with your emotional needs, because it requires you to get very vulnerable with yourself. But it's a conversation that needs to be had. It's a place you need to go to. Like, you need to go there, because that's also the key. That's the entryway to your peace. Like, peace is on the other side of you knowing your emotional needs. It is. So yeah, like, because I know that I freak out and kind of just like have a very outrageous emotional reaction to making a mistake, when I do make mistakes, I'm just extra kind of tender with myself. And I have like affirmations, which are just like, I don't know how to define affirmations, but just like basically like healing words, positive words that kind of like reroute you or direct you into the direction of your peace and your prosperity. So a recent one I've been telling myself recently is, I am safe when I make mistakes. I am safe when I make mistakes. And it's like, yeah, with the way affirmations work, it's like the more you say them, the more repetition kind of like is what infiltrates your subconscious mind, because that's where most of your beliefs are held, your unconscious beliefs. So yeah, I just tell myself, I am safe when I make mistakes. I am safe when I make mistakes. I don't know that my nervous system and my body is fully there yet, fully believes that yet, but it will eventually, especially if I because I've set the intention to keep repeating that to myself. I keep telling myself that I'm safe when I make mistakes. So that's kind of what reparenting looks like. That's what knowing your emotional needs looks like. And that's what will help you just move through life. I think a lot of us live life with a lot of anxiety. It's crazy how many people are dealing with anxiety. It's crazy. And it's not, to me, that's like, there's something wrong. That's another conversation for another video. There's something wrong with the world. There's something wrong with systems. But this is one way you can move through life with less anxiety. Because like anxiety feels so icky. You feel so unsafe. Life gets so small and like tense and stuff like that. Fear makes life so much smaller. It makes life so much smaller. Like life just like constricts. Your world is tiny, you know? In a really diminishing way. So this is one way that you can work through fear and like living life with fear. You can live life with less fear the more you have that conversation with yourself and you get vulnerable with yourself and you know your emotional needs. You know what they are. So I hope this video has motivated you a little bit more to know what your emotional needs are, to be able to answer that question. What are your emotional needs? What are they? Can you tell me? Can you tell yourself? Do you know why you're upset? Do you know why that hurt you so much? Don't just ignore it. I know there's a tendency to like, when you feel a certain type of way, you just wanna or when you're like feeling more like the negative emotions or the more uncomfortable emotions, like shame, maybe embarrassment, fear, you don't want to look at them. You're feeling them, but you're just going to pretend that you don't feel them. You don't want to look at them. But that's so unhelpful, because emotions are information. Emotions are information. They inform you. They tell you about yourself. They tell you about your history. They tell you so much about yourself. So much juicy information that's really helpful for you to move through life and like get closer to peace, get closer to prosperity, and have everything you want. So look at, just like, it's okay to have some weird emotional reaction to something that seems like nothing. Like for me, like, I don't know, like bringing the wrong pen to a meeting will set me on fire. Like, that'll make me feel awful. And it's okay. All emotions you have are okay. And it's important to investigate them, look into them, get curious about them. You need to know your emotional needs, okay? In 2023 and beyond, we are knowing what our emotional needs are. That should be on your resume. Okay, it shouldn't be, like, don't be on your resume, but like that should be part of, like, it should be as important as the stuff on your resume. Okay, that's what I mean. Your emotional needs should be important as the stuff on your resume. What are my emotional needs? What makes me feel really happy and peaceful and expansive and, joyful? What makes me feel very scared, fearful, unsafe? What is it? That's how we master ourselves, So thank you so much for watching. I hope this has inspired you to get closer to yourself. If you enjoyed the video or found it helpful, feel free to like, comment, and if you like my stuff and want to hear more from me, please subscribe. Thank you so much, and have a good rest of the day. Bye.